Welcome boys and girls, Christine here with a discussion about the best legendary lords to play for every single race in Immortal Empires, since Creative Assembly has made Immortal Empires far more widely available than it was before with their changes to the game's structure. So, starting with the Beastmen, I would say for the Beastmen you have the choice of either buying the race pack or buying the Silence and the Fury DLC. Unsure about how you access certain specific things, but if you do get access to Beastmen just by buying Silence and Fury, then my recommendation is to get that DLC and only that DLC, assuming you don't want to buy the race pack. The reason is you'll get access to both Lizardmen and Beastmen, and crucially for the Beastmen, you'll get access to Taurox, the Brass Bull. Taurox is the best Beastman campaign. He is the only one that has a unique campaign mechanic. And on top of that, getting the Silence and the Fury DLC also gives you access to extra units, Regiment's Renown, and so on and so forth. If you do buy the race pack of the Beastmen, I would still argue that Taurox is the best one, though you could always argue in favor of Mogr or, say, Malagor, for instance. But yes, from a DLC standpoint, it's worth it more to buy Silence and the Fury than to buy the Beastmen race pack. For Bretonnia, I imagine you just need to own Warhammer 1 to get access to all the legendary lords, so maybe Rapunzel is tied to Warhammer 2. But from my perspective at the moment, I think Rapunzel is the best campaign for Bretonnia. She doesn't have the same confederation limitations that the other Bretonnia legendary lords do have. She has a much better starting situation than the other ones. Although, you could also argue in favor of Alberich, hilariously enough. The reason for Alberich is he has a bunch of benefits with regards to knights, and now he has sea-based attacks available for himself on port settlements, and that's a pretty big deal. Though, from my view, it's generally going to be Rapunzel versus Alberich. I do think Bretonnia needs a rework, but yes, between the two of them, I would go with Rapunzel. For the Chaos Dwarfs, the decision generally comes down to Drazif or Astrogoth. Now, Drazif is better for longer campaigns. The reason is he gets armament cost reduction for unit capacity in the Hellforge. He also gets armament output. But on the flip side, if you look at Astrogoth, the benefit of Astrogoth is not anything in the faction effects or the lord effects. It's actually available in his skill line. So specifically with Astrogoth, while you won't have as many elite units as Drazif, you do have a fairly safe starting position compared to the situation Drazif has to deal with. And on top of that, you can also get far more heroes than everyone else. And while research rate and conclave influence don't matter as much from my view, they still give you certain benefits. Zaytan is the one I would recommend playing against, even with the addition of an extra province. It's not that Zaytan is bad as a legendary lord, it's the starting dynamic of his campaign that makes him worse. Demon Prince, yeah, don't play him. That's all I'm gonna say. Dark Elves. Lokir, without a doubt. Lokir did get a fairly substantial improvement with patch 7.0. He has become much better as a legendary lord. He really is the best naval faction in the game right now. He has a lot of black arcs. He has a lot of benefits for those black arcs. He can take ace lane, sea lanes as well in his campaign. Maybe Vampire Coast should be able to get those sea lanes as well. But regardless of that, Lokir does do very well from a racial standpoint, from a lord standpoint, from a mechanics standpoint. It's not going to be stated over here, but essentially, he now has a lot more mobility on the campaign map than he didn't have before, and he also plays very well within the constraints of Warhammer 3. And you just need to own the Dark Elves, have access to the Dark Elves. I think Warhammer 2 is all you need to be able to play Lokir. I wouldn't recommend the DLCs, although Malice Earthblade could be useful for Masters. For Dwarves, it's a no-brainer. Malachi Makason is the best campaign in the game by far. And I think it's actually been a bit improved with the Norska rework, so that means he actually has potentially a greater foe to deal with respect to Norska in a campaign. Unsure on that, really. I think Malachi still wipes the floor with Norska. But let's consider this DLC. You get access to a replenishment hero. You get the Gotrek and Felix campaign. You can probably confederate every legendary lord except Belegar by just having access to the campaign. I am unsure about Fork and how that plays out. So the free stuff, because like Fork was a free legendary lord, and I think he was tied to Total War access. So unsure on that. Again, just early days on regards to this. Then for the Empire, strong recommendation. You can buy Thrones of Decay. It does give you a lot of benefits, but the best campaign for the Empire right now is Karl Franz, with or without DLC. If you're looking to play an Empire campaign, yes, get Warhammer 1, get Karl Franz, and maybe get Thrones of Decay for the units that and Lord and Hero that comes with Elspeth. But yes, I do think this is the best campaign for the Empire. It's the most dynamic campaign. It does force you to do other things. He has a lot of Empire building capability, but bear in mind, my focus is generally on campaign systems, and I think that Karl does have the best campaign systems. Maybe a recommendation would be to also get a mod that gives you a Legendary Lord faction capabilities, so you could get some things from Gelt and Elspeth if you're playing Karl, but Karl is the baseline campaign for the Empire that I recommend. Then we have Cathay. The game still recommends Miao Ying, but I'm going to say that Xiao Ming is just the best overall. One can argue that Yan Bo is the strongest, and he undoubtedly is, but I think like Xiao Ming's campaign dynamic at the moment between caravans, the alchemist benefit, the maximum number of active caravans, etc., his starting position, the dynamics, and his easier path of confederation with other Cathayan faction does make Xiao Ming the better choice. The reason I say that is if you're playing Miao Ying or Yan Bo, you're going to actually find it much harder to confederate Xiao Ming than you would playing Xiao Ming to try and confederate Miao Ying and Yan Bo, if you're looking for that. Is Xiao's a change war fit? Kinda. There's some benefits in that, but not strictly necessary. For Greenskins, big question. There's really two choices. One, you have Skarsnik, which you can get with King the Warlord. And King the Warlord gives you some units, regiments, renown, and all that. Greenskins are in a pretty decent state, even by default. Though, of course, owning Omens of Destruction and King the Warlord would give you that entire roster. If you're not interested in King the Warlord, then I probably would recommend Omens of Destruction anyway, and then just play Grimgor or Warzag. I think Grimgor, though, is the quintessential Greenskin campaign. Skarsnik is a more specialized campaign. He can get stock stats on every single army in his campaign, so from a campaign standpoint, he does stand out. But Grimgor is the one Greenskin in the game. Like, it's kind of funny because in the end times, Warzag basically decided, okay, Grimgor and Skarsnik are the champions of Gork and Mork. High Elves, Alifanar. So first off, he's a free campaign that you do have available if you, I think, have access to any High Elven content. So whether or not you buy the race or you buy, Warhammer 2, or you get access to any of the DLCs, you should have access to Alifanar. He's really good as a Legendary Lord from the perspective of specialization on sneaking attacks. But you can also get a bunch of regular armies. You'll have more money, you have a very dynamic and interesting starting position, you have those kind of decisions that you can make with Alifanar. Otherwise, I mean, yeah, you could always go Tyrion or you can go Aislan if you want to. If you want something more generic, go Tyrion. For Khorne, Arbol the Undefeated, without a shadow of a doubt. First off, Arbol is available to everyone that has, I think, any Khorne content. Would I recommend Omens of Destruction for him? Well, it's always nice, Wrathmonger, Skull Reapers, etc., but I think like Champions of Chaos DLC is actually more useful if you're looking to play any Chaos campaign at the moment than any specific DLC. Arbol is very fun, very powerful, very good, and he focuses on the mortal units of Khorne. So even if you don't own any DLC for Khorne, you'll have a pretty good situation in a campaign, but of course owning the DLC's champions in particular will help you out. Kislev, Boris Ursus. Like, without shadow of a doubt, Boris has the most dynamic and interesting campaign. He does very well with supporters, he does the best with territory, he has a significant number of faction effects and lord effects. His skill line is the best skill line of a Legendary Lord for Kislev, and he can actually just play around in Chaos Waste or go to Kislev. You do have that dynamic, you do have that choice to play out. He also has the best climate situation of all of them. He's tied with Ostankia from that perspective. Yes, Ostankia does have magical forests, but I would say Boris is just much better from that perspective. It's not like Astankia is going to get the magical forest anytime soon. She's not really close to Alpha Lorem. That would be more important. Besides, I do think Boris is better. Is Shadows of Change worth it? Kinda. Like, Kislev is one of those races where Shadows of Change can benefit you, but it's not really that important. Lizardmen. What is the best Lizardmen campaign? Well, isn't that a bit of a discussion from my perspective? I mean, if you want a dynamic campaign, Oxyatl without a shadow of doubt, and you can get access to him with just Silence and the Fury DLC, so you don't need to own anything other than that. Otherwise, if you want something more generic, you can go for Krokar or Gorok. Gorok is available to everyone, so is Krokar. But yeah, my recommendation for Lizardmen would be Oxyatl. Still to this day. Nakai isn't too bad. Norska, Trog the Troll King, without a doubt. He has better growth, unique mechanics. He's building a troll empire. The Norska rework really feels like it was designed around Trog's mechanics. He can get every type of troll in the world. He has a dynamic starting position, which gives him a lot of choice. And you can even use Wulfric's teleportation ability by confederating him. Like, for instance, if you're playing Wulfric, you're going to have to go out of your way to actually get Trog, and you won't get those mechanics. Whereas if you play Trog, yes, it won't be the same thing as playing Wulfric, but the meat of Wulfric's campaign mechanics will still be available. So just keep that in mind. Either one can work. I would, with regards to the DLC with Tides of Torment, do I think sale is worth it? Not really. So, do you need the DLC? It can be a bit beneficial, though it's not important. I do think, like, if you're going to play Norska, I think the Norska race pack is worth it more, and just go play as Strahd. For Nurgle, Tamarkan, without a shadow of doubt. Like, just buy Thrones of Decay, you get more units. And Champions of Chaos also can help you out, but really, regardless of what you decide to do with regards to that, I think, like, Tamarkan is the best campaign, the most dynamic, the most fun, the most interesting one out of the bunch. Not the best starting position, but then again, none of the starting positions are especially good. If you want another Nurgle campaign, go play Festus, seriously, like, that's the thing, which, what we can say. Then we get Ogre Kingdoms. So, with respect to Ogre Kingdoms, it's an interesting choice. This is where you really have to ask, why are you interested in a campaign? If you're looking for empire building, you should go with Greases. If you're looking to maximize your meat output and having more dynamic starting position and choices and diplomacy, etc., you can go with Scrag, because ogres are pretty neutral with everyone. If you want to be a world wonder, go for Maneater. That's essentially the ogre choice. Personally, I do prefer Scrag or Greases more than Maneater. Not that Maneater is bad in any way, shape, or form. Skaven. So Skaven situation, that's the complicated one, isn't it? I mean, obviously, a lot of people would probably answer Ikeclaw, just because, you know, Nuclear Rat is fun, and he is. And I think he actually is in a better position right now. It used to be that Mogre would just wipe out the Stalia in the south before you could even reach him, but I haven't seen as much of that as of late. I do think his starting position could be improved. Personally, I'm a bigger fan of Deathmaster Snitch or Queek. I think Skaven, it's really a question of, like, pick your poison. As long as that poison isn't Tretch. Like, Tretch is not the one you want to play. But yeah, I'm personally a bigger fan of Snitch. But from a starting position, a dynamic, you could go with Queek. If you want nukes, go with Ikeclaw. But yeah, my personal recommendation would be Snitch. You get Shadow and the Blade DLC. You get access to the baseline Skaven roster. Though, yeah, if you want Rallying Gunners, get Prophet and Warlock. Slaanesh. Champions of Casters recommended. Tides of Torment can be useful, especially for a replenishment hero and a couple of other fun units. The campaign I personally think is the best for Slaanesh right now, at least from the race, is the Mask. Actually, I would dare say the Mask is actually the best campaign of Slaanesh in general, like even when we're accounting for Azazel, for instance, or Sigvald. So yeah, my recommendation would be going with the Mask. She's a free Legendary Lord available to everyone. She does focus on demons, but she also makes that playstyle work better because she can give them armor with the dances. So yeah, for Slaanesh, it would be the Mask. Tomb Kings. Good question. I mean, obviously, Cetra is king, and all kings bow to Cetra. Although, if you do want a faster start and an easier campaign dynamic, you could always go with Ark in the Black. Yeah, you do get extra army capacity, but if you're looking to build an empire, Cetra is your choice. Personally, I think For shorter campaigns, Archon or Starting Point, Archon might be the better choice. For like an Empire Builder in a more dynamic campaign, Central might be better, but yeah, Tomb Kings could use some work. Siege. I'm not even gonna say that either of them is worth it. I think that would just be misleading. Out of the two of them, I would recommend Kairos if you're looking to play a Siege campaign, but really none of the Siege campaigns, including Village, are worth it from my view. Vampire Coast. Same situation. Out of the campaigns that exist currently, you could always go with Noctilus if you want to, or if you want to maximize your income from raiding, sacking settlements, you can always go with Aranessa, just because she has that benefit and she has some extra units. But yeah, I can't really recommend Vampire Coast all that much. But if you want to play it, yeah, Noctilus or Aranessa. Luthor and Silostra have some issues in their campaigns. Vampire Counts. You don't need to own any DLC for playing a Vampire Counts campaign, and there's only one, Grim in the Grave, if you want to, which is the least popular DLC in the history of Total War. Though I'm not sure if you get access to Isabella or Vlad, because they are free legendary lords that were introduced in Warhammer 1, so if you buy Grim in the Grave, do you get access to Isabella and Vlad? Either way, regardless of how you get access to them, I think Isabella is the best campaign in the game by far, or you can go with Vlad. It's dependent, like, you will have the same starting position. One will start as a legendary hero, the other one will be the legendary lord. Vlad will always be the faction leader. You could also go for Kemler from the climate perspective, and potentially getting the Red Duke as well. But personally, I'd recommend Isabella, really, for that purpose. From a Warriors of Chaos point of view, really, it is Be'lakor. He's available to everyone. You don't need to own any DLC. You just, I think, just need to be able to play Immortal Empires. You have access to the Undivided roster in some of the Monogod roster, because that's how Warriors of Chaos work. You would benefit a lot more in this campaign from the perspective of owning Champions of Chaos, variety of units, starting Chaos gifts, etc. in this campaign, dynamic campaign. And then finally, Wood Elves. You can buy the DLC for Twisted and Twilight, which gives you Fraught for Skaven and the Sisters of Twilight for them, and gives you access to the Wood Elf. So you get the baseline Wood Elf roster, plus the extra units of Twisted and Twilight that were added in. So my recommendation would be Sisters of Twilight if you're looking for a campaign. They are pretty powerful. They have a unique playstyle with flying units, and they, of course, still have Glade Guard and Treekin. They do have that unique mechanic. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, any of them are pretty strong, with Ryan ridiculously so, though I have a bit of a soft spot for Dry Cup, but yes, you do need to own the Wood Elf race pack if you're looking to play Dry Cup. And that would be about it, boys and girls. I'm sure plenty of people have their own favorite campaigns, what they like, what they dislike, but this is just my perspective on which campaigns I would recommend for the game at the moment. Please do let me know exactly how things are unlocked, because, you know, Creative Assembly's information on the subject is a bit vague, suffice to say. And they've also mentioned that there are going to be issues that they're looking to fix, so that is an important conversation. Questine signing out, stay tuned for more.